You know, they say Hollywood has no new ideas. Everything's just a sequel or a reboot. And a lot of times their sequels or remakes nobody really wanted. Well, some could review Idaho's 2025 legislative session in the same way, lacking in originality. We're just a week in and there have been 13 bills printed so far this session. 12 in the House, 1 in the Senate. And 7 of them, 7 out of 13 are either almost identical to bills that have failed or have been deemed illegal in recent years, or they're just slightly different, a slightly different version or a different approach. 7 out of 13. I mean, Dumb and Dumber was great, but did we need Dumb and Dumberer? Okay, so we're going to get to some of those in just a second, but continue with that vein of sequel bills. How about Immigration Bill Part 2, The Electric Boogaloo, or maybe more like Gremlins 2, The New Batch. Better yet, Terminator 2, Judgment Day. All good movies, sure. In the waning days of the 2024 legislative session, Republican Representative Jaron Crane from Nampa brought forth an immigration bill. While the bill fast-tracked through the House last year, introduced and passed within 48 hours through that chamber, it was also late enough in the session that it stalled in the Senate. So Representative Crane, just rebooted it, this time very early in the session. No telling if timing will be an advantage or if Crane's immigration redo will face the same scrutiny as his initial attempt. The 2025 version virtually allows the same plot line as the previous. It would allow local law enforcement to enforce, or to officers to check and to document the citizenship status of anyone involved with a crime. However, while the bill specifies just being in Idaho undocumented is a crime, that doesn't mean law enforcement can just ask for proof of citizenship at will. No, that person has to be involved with some other crime, from theft to assault to, I don't know, running a stop sign.
So this allows law enforcement to go ahead and say, okay, let's do a mugshot, let's fingerprint, let's document you, and here's a misdemeanor. If you're to commit another crime, then it's going to be a felony and you face deportation.
How is that different than the way it is now?
They don't have the ability right now to document. So if they come across someone who has no documentation and they're an illegal immigrant, they can't document them. So these people realistically are ghosts, you know, because they're nothing. There's no papers, there's no identification, they have no name, and they just move along.
They're not exactly nothing. They are people. But as you heard, the first time someone is discovered to be undocumented, that would be a misdemeanor according to this bill. The second time, well, that would be a felony. And that person would then be deported, or at least subject to, according to Crane. And like we learned last year, this bill is directly drawn from a Texas law, which they approved in 2023. And that one is being challenged in court. Why? Well, for the same reason there was a problem with Crane's bill last session, and pointed out today by Boise's Democratic Representative Todd Achilles.
Number one, this just clearly violates the supremacy clause of the Constitution. Right? Immigration law is federal law, and states don't get to overwrite that.
Representative Crane tried to tell the committee today Texas's law is currently being enforced while it's working through its legal issues, and that's why Idaho should not worry about any constitutional challenges to this one. However, that Texas law has been blocked, and opponents to Idaho's version say it likely will be too, adding more legal costs to the $1 million fiscal impact promised by Crane's bill. Representative Crane did address the, quote, feds are in charge of immigration argument during last year's hearing in House State Affairs.
First, we're constantly told that people illegally entering the country are undocumented immigrants, and the federal government has jurisdiction over all matters concerning immigration. This is not the case. In fact, the word immigration doesn't appear in our U.S. Constitution.
Well, Crane went on to say the only constitutional power granted to the feds concerns aliens in times of peace, and it is only established as a uniform rule of naturalization. However, there is something called plenary power that is broad and complete authority over such things not explicitly described in the Constitution, things like immigration. And this power has been granted to Congress by the U.S. Supreme Court, saying it comes from the Constitution simply because of the establishment of the federal government. Article 1, Section 8, Clause 18, Congress shall have the power to make all laws necessary and proper, and all other powers vested by this Constitution in the government of the United States. But I'm not a lawyer. I'm just a guy with a Google machine. So we did speak with an attorney. J.J. Despain is an immigration lawyer in Boise, and he says this bill, this current one and the previous one, has more than a tinge of Shakespearean tragedy in it, much like Macbeth, full of sound and fury, signifying nothing.
But what it shows is the local police cooperating more with the federal authorities, which that could be kind of worrisome. They already have been here in Idaho. We're not a sanctuary state, so it might not change a whole lot, but it does mean like the police maybe are going to cause more hassle for people, say we're charging you with this crime and we're going to turn you over to ICE or to CBP.
When you say it's worrisome, is that the part what's worrisome about it?
Well, the other part of the bill that I think is a bigger problem is the state saying they have power to give someone an order of removal. The state just doesn't have the power to do that. They can't kick people out of the country. They're not in charge of the country. So
you're saying that this doesn't have a lot of teeth and it's more of just a statement?
I feel like it, yeah, just based on my understanding of how immigration law works, how the Constitution works, it makes Idaho look like they're tough, but the only way they can get away with actually doing anything with immigration is if the federal government gives up some of their power.
Well, Despain did concede the upcoming administration may be willing to cede some of that power to the states. They may appreciate the help, but Despain says that would likely make immigration messy and more confusing. Oh, there is a slight change between this bill and last year's. Just in case it does pass and is signed into law, Crane built in a severability clause, meaning any part of it that is found to be unconstitutional, well, that part can just be scrapped, but the rest will stay in play. Crane expects his bill to get a hearing next week, so we will see if the Idaho Dairymen's Association, Poder of Idaho, the ACLU of Idaho, and the American Immigration Lawyers Association all show up to speak against the bill like they did last year.